What's going on, guys? PlayBox here. We're back for another Dragon Ball Legends video. In this one, I want to discuss, or basically not discuss, but I want to lay out what I believe are the best aging units in Dragon Ball Legends. So I'm going to be picking 10 units that I believe have aged the best in terms of, usability and all that stuff. And I'm not going to be picking like units that are like specifically just viable today. Actually, now that I think about it, I think most of the units I have selected are still viable today, but basically it's just to see, like, it's mainly ranked on how long they were usable for, and like how long they were used in their respective teams, of course, and their teams have to somewhat be like a meta team. It can't just be like freaking Dragon Ball Saga, like their top unit. It can't just be like teams that you don't see in PvP, right? So we're going to be going over 10. Actually, we're going to go over 11 units because the 10th spot, I have 2 units there because I couldn't really pick which one to put as their 10th spot, because both of them I feel like should share that 10th spot, in my opinion, of course. But we're just going to go through the list. I'm pretty sure a lot of these units are units you can probably guess, and they are in order based off of what I believe. So yeah, enough about that. We're just gonna hop into the first one, and that is going to be Ultra Instinct Goku. So yeah, I'm joking, by the way. There's no way this guy's gonna make the cut. It's probably one of the worst aging units. Maybe not worst aging units, but I would say probably. Okay, no, he's definitely the worst aging LF. But enough about that. The number 10 spot is going to be shared between Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta from the future Trunks Saga and Green transforming Goku Black. So Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta dropped during the 2nd anniversary, and he was pretty much the main purple on the future tag for very long. It's pretty funny because Merge Zamasu was a 2nd anniversary unit as well, and he dropped. He was the main purple fighter, of course, and then literally like a couple weeks later, this guy dropped, and he pretty much replaced him. You could use both of the units, but this guy was just so much better in my opinion because like he was a support unit. His supporting, he's actually not a support unit, he's a range type, but his support is actually just very like so good. And a lot of support units, you'll see like they actually age very well because their supporting is really good. That's why Vados lasted for as long as she did. And yeah, like he gives a card if you have 3 or fewer, restores ally ki by 20% and some damage inflicted. And then when you die, you get 35% damage inflicted by allies, reduces 3 Dragon Balls, and then increase your health by 20%. Like that is some really good supporting, just even without being a support type. And the crazy thing is, like, this guy just recently got a resurgence in the meta because of the prominence of mono purple. So we have this guy is basically their de facto 3rd member. We have Goku and Vegeta, Super Vegeta, and this guy. Those 3 are the 3 main units on the mono purple team, and then the bench, of course, just a bunch of Zenkai buffs. But he recently got a resurgence because of that, and I don't have him higher up on the list simply because he did last for quite a long time. But there was a period in time, I would say like around a couple months before the 3rd anniversary to around now, where he was just not used, right? Future was like a solid team, but you wouldn't use this guy. During the anniversary, you would use purple VB instead. And then now, of course, you have Goku and Vegeta. You could toss into the leader slot. You have Sengkai Zamasu, LF Rose. So this guy's not used on future that much. So that's because of that small period in time where he was not used. That's why he's not like higher up on the list. But this guy being used right now in mono purple just shows you how good his supporting capabilities are. And if you have him in 40 stars, he does decent damage still. So yeah. Then we go into Goku Black, and Goku Black alongside this purple Vegeta, they were like the core with Red Cell, the Revival Cell. They were like the core of Future for a very long time. And I would honestly argue that this Goku Black, when he released, he was probably like he was listed at S tier, but you could argue maybe that he was maybe C tier because his stats post transformation, of course, being a transforming unit, is very good. Blast 290 basically and 280 strike. And what made him so good is his innate ability right off the bat is very good. You randomly draw 4 new cards, increase art card draw speed. The thing that made this guy so good and what allowed him to last a long time is I think was this ability. No, this one right here. Reduces enemy ki by, okay, no. Applies the following effects to self when arts cards draw. So whenever he draws a card, you restore 10 ki and 10% damage. So every time you draw a card, you get 10 ki, get 10 damage, and he has card draw speed. So you are able to string in the longest combos ever. And then his green card destroys all your cards and randomly draws 3 new, restores own health by 10%. And you can see, like, when you just look at it, just like at first glance, it's like, you know, it's decent but nothing crazy. But you have to remember that he doesn't get any ki here, damage inflicted here, because he gets it already built into his kit. So you can basically see this and this as his green card, and that just makes him so much better. I feel like units that are able to continuously stack damage, they are able to see a prolongated like usability in the meta. So that's what made this guy last longer, and he was a very oppressive force in the meta. Even if you have him at 14 stars, he probably could output some decent damage, but you can definitely tell that he's been power crept quite a bit. So we'll just have to wait until he gets his Zenkai to see any more usability in this guy. So let's move on to the next spot, and we have, what the heck, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and I'm specifically talking about the Zenkai version of him. Honestly, you can even argue that his non-Zenkai form was pretty good as well, because when he dropped in the first anniversary, he was Z tier instantly, right? And he lasted pretty well until like God Ki started slowly falling off. I think probably around, I would say like around February the following year, because they got a buff with Rose and LF Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, so that helped them stay afloat. And then nearing that area, like that time period, he was starting to slowly fall off. But then his Zenkai came in, and they made him very good in his Zenkai. It was pretty crazy. I think his Vanish Restoration was already there, get some ki there, but he's basically built to be a tank early on, and then after a while he starts building up his damage, and then he'll start showing like really good damage. So he also, I believe, does he support his allies? I think he does support his allies in some, maybe I'm mistaken here. Let me quickly check over. Damage inflicted when this character enters the battlefield cannot be stacked. Applies the following to sub once 45 after 45 timer count, so 15 damage and then 15 extra for blast damage. So you're able to continuously stack that, well, not continuously stack, but you're able to get a lot of blast damage. Oh, here it is. So after every time you land a strike or blast card, you continuously stack 10% damage inflicted by Tag God Ki. So he has some support built into him, and this also affects his damage as well. And then gaining 5k every time you use an arts card, that's very, very good as well. And his green card is actually one of the better green cards as well. Restores 10% health, ki by 30, and 20% damage inflicted. That's like the nice little trinity that you want in a green card, like affecting all 3 stats. Like that is some solid green card. Ultimate actually hits very hard, and like the Vanish Restoration on main is very, very good as well. So he, like, you can still probably run him on God Ki, but I think God Ki isn't more strike oriented now. I think, no, actually it's still blast oriented, so you can actually use this guy still. But I feel like a lot of people would opt to use like future sort of Trunks on the leader slot, and just to have that endurance, because you can also run him with Goku and Vegeta and Super Saiyan Blue evolved Vegeta, and you have the 2 units required for Trunks to have endurance. So that I think that's a better setup. But you can definitely still run this guy because he's still a decent tank, and he does really some solid blast damage late game. So I think because the meta is so fast paced right now, you might not see any use in him because the damage comes in a bit later. So I think that's why he's sort of taken a backseat. But he's definitely aged well, especially since considering that he dropped like last year around October, I believe. So yeah, he's definitely pretty solid still. So let's keep going to the next one, and it's going to be Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. So yeah, Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. So upon release, best unit in the game, destroyed the meta. They had to do a bunch of nerfs and stuff like that. So when he dropped, they did not implement the rule that you can cover change multiple times, so that allowed him to like chain in a lot of combos. And then first unit to have a supreme modifier on his ultimate, first unit to nullify cover change on anything. That was the introduction of cover nullification. So once you switch once, you're not able to switch out. So, and this guy was known to have super long combos with Kefla as well. So he stayed in the meta for a long time, because Fusion, they didn't have a blue unit, but Fusion wasn't like top tier after a couple of months, I would say. But he was still the main on God Keep until even when Super Saiyan Blue Goku Zenkai dropped. You could still argue that to use this Vegito instead, just to have the Goku Zenkai buff him. But obviously now his damage is pretty lackluster. He's still able to stall a lot due to his strike card drawing mechanic, which honestly is what's keeping him in the meta so long, as well as his ultimate still being able to hit very hard. But like a couple things other than that, like his green card is not that great since it doesn't even have blast arm for whatever reason. Canceling attribute upgrades is pretty good on twice, so that's fine. Final Kamehameha, no switching is pretty stupid, and then the strike card drawing with the 5 key restoration is stupid as well. But yeah, this guy, I think if you have him at high stars, you can definitely probably get some use out of him. Probably not in the top rankings of PvP, but I would say like BR 50 to 60, you could probably get some use out of him. But he's obviously nothing like he was when he dropped. But I feel like he still aged quite well because he was still used for so long, and he was like in the top used units in PvP for a very long time actually, until like probably around like the 3rd anniversary or something, or even a bit after the 3rd anniversary, he dropped out of the rankings, which is pretty damn good. So that's why he's in our number 5 spot here. So let's keep going on to the next one here. We have Zenkai Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So everyone's favorite unit, FSK Zenkai Gohan. So this guy, when he first released, actually, you can, similar to with Super Saiyan Blue Goku, you can argue that this guy lasted fairly long in the meta when he initially dropped back like a couple months before the 1st anniversary. I think he lasted a long, he passed the 1st anniversary, continued until Nami Goku. I think he was still Z tier at that point. And then if he continued a bit more, I think like his combo with Nami Goku started to fade away, and he was more so left in the dust because Sun Family was more left in the dust, and then Saiyan started to boost a bit more because of Super Saiyan 3 Goku and stuff like that. So I think at that point he was kind of power crept there. But then Zenkai dropped back in I believe it was in early September of last year, and then from there on, from ever since that date, early September, he was the best unit in the game for a full year. So that is like the very definition of a unit aging well. You can argue that he would probably might have not been the best unit. I was sometimes like shifting back and forth with him and 18 as like the best units, like because 18's strike damage back then was just stupid, so that made her a bit more oppressive in that case, because this guy truly shines as the last man standing. And then obviously nowadays everyone just cancels buffs for fun, so he's not really seeing any usage. But yeah, being the best unit in the game for over a year is definitely no small feat, right? And then during the 3rd anniversary, he got a buff with Revival Gohan. Well, actually, even during the 1st month of 2021, he got the buff with Future Gohan. But even that buff, like, it didn't really allow hybrids to be the super top team. Like, they were still good, but nowhere near what they were like a couple months ago. And then with the release of Revival Gohan, they had the hybrid trinity that was just like everyone was considering the best team in the game. I obviously didn't consider that the best team. I thought Movies was actually like on par with hybrids, I would say. Even Saiyans, you can argue, was on par. But yeah, that trio was very nasty. A lot of people actually still consider him the best unit at that time as well. But I would argue that Revival Gohan was probably the best unit on that team. But yeah, he definitely aged very well. If you're a unit that's number 1 in the game for that long, I mean, you have to make this list, right? So that's FSK Gohan. So let's move on. What number are we at? I think we're at the 5th spot, or 6th. I don't know. I think this is the 5th spot. So I don't know. Whatever. Demon King Piccolo. So I'm specifically talking about the Zenkai Demon King Piccolo. So this guy, believe it or not, he actually dropped a month, or he dropped before FSK, but I think it was like a month before. I could be wrong, but he dropped before FSK, right? So his Zenkai is like pretty much as old as FSK, and he was very good upon release. I think he wasn't Z tier, he was like around mid to top S tier, but he was solid throughout the whole year, right? And then recently he started getting a bit more playtime. I think, when was it? I think I think it was with Purple Cell's release, LF Cell, that it kind of solidified Regen as being more strike oriented. But then recently, right, being a yellow unit in this mono purple meta, that boosted his value. But as well as a lot of endurance unit being present in the meta, that also boosted his relevance. Because if you guys don't know, this guy, similar to like Full Power Frieza, LF Rose, Yellow Hit, this guy just nullifies endurance just as is from doing anything, right? It's just built into his kit. So any attack you kill an enemy with, it'll nullify endurance if they have it, right? So that's very, very good, because that way you don't have to worry about rushing with this guy if your opponent switches into a unit with endurance, because it will just nullify the endurance. So that really boosted up his value alongside like Full Power Frieza, that you'll probably see a bit more now. But yeah, and then just Regen was such a dominant. Well, it was a pretty good team. You don't see it as much anymore because PvP just filled with Super Saiyans, Mono Purple, Blue Purple, Future Fusions. That's pretty much all the teams you're gonna be seeing nowadays, right? So you don't really see Regen as much. But if Regen gets another strong, like they actually just did get a strong purple unit in the form of Zenkai 21. If they can get like a strong blue unit, because who's their best blue unit? Now that I think about it, probably would it be? I guess it would be LF Kid Buu, but Kid Buu's he's aged quite a bit, so you probably wouldn't run him, and the team is more strike oriented. Probably Zenkai Android 21, I guess. I could be wrong. Let me know if there is someone I'm missing, but I think Zenkai 21 would be the main blue on a strike oriented Regen team. So yeah, if they can get a stronger blue unit, that could really help this team move up in the rankings. But for now, it's gonna stay a bit low-key. But this guy's definitely aged quite a bit. Like, it has aged very well and is still really good. There's a lot of strike damage. He has card draw speed upon entry, which is really good with the 50% key recovery, and he can steal 2 of your Dragon Balls. So you can just rush with this guy and then steal 2 Dragon Balls, so you can start building up a second rush, and you're gonna not allow your opponent to use their rush. So it's a very good pairing. And yeah, that makes this dude pretty solid, and I believe he's gonna remain solid for a couple months to come. So yeah, let's keep going to the next one here, and it's going to be Gogeta Blue. So Gogeta Blue dropped during Legends Festival last year, and of course, due to having a lack of card draw speed, which is something that's, I guess, a bit weird for a melee type unit to drop nowadays without any form of card draw speed. Which was the biggest complaint that a lot of people had, myself included, back when he dropped. So he was labeled as mid upon release, instant tier 1 when he dropped. Was complete chaos, because he's arguably one of the most hyped units. He was anticipated to drop like since the Broly movie release, right? So people have been wanting this unit, and then when he drops, he was an instant tier 1. So that was a big shock for a lot of people. But then over the years, years, he just dropped a year ago, but over the months, his value started to increase a bit more, and that's mainly because of this effect right here. So where is it? This one right here. Gain nullifying actions, nullify cover when he enters a battlefield, right? And also this key health restoration. These 2 combinations very, very good, because when you pair this up with Vados, this guy will literally never die. So especially with his equipment setup they gave him, with like so much health and health restoration, like that was a very solid setup with Vados, right? Because Vados heals upon switch, and then he heals on entry, right? And then so yeah, this nullifying cover change upon entry is what actually I feel like helped him increase in value, because after his release, we just were bombarded with units that have cover changes. So we had like the Future Gohan, we had the LF Rose, we had Hit, probably missing a couple. We have the Anniversary Gogeta, Zamasu. So there was a lot of units that just came in and they just had a bunch of cover changes, right? So this guy being able to just straight up nullify upon entry made him very viable. So as the months went on, his value actually continually increased, and in the 3rd anniversary it increased even more, and he was bumped up to S tier actually, because we had a buff with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. That made him very good, and the fusion was in a decent spot, nothing crazy, but it was a decent spot. And even now, He had a spot on movies because of Revival Gohan, and movies being one of the best teams as well, even to this day. So you can still probably run this guy on movies. You can argue that the new Zenkai Goku, the Otherworld Goku, probably replaces him. But you can make the argument that this guy still has a decent spot on the movies team, and even fusions. No, actually, Oob is better on fusions. God Key, you can run him, but SSBE is probably better than him. I mean, he's definitely better than him, but he's definitely still has a spot here and there. And if you have him at high enough stars, he can definitely put in the work. So let's move on to the next one, and it's going to be Namigoku. Namigoku. So his Zenkai dropped, I think a month or two after FSK. So definitely over a year old. And even when he dropped initially, he was pretty damn good, right? One of the best units, if not the best. You can argue with him or Super Vegito. I think Super Vegito was still better, but a lot of people would think he was the best. And then when he got his Zenkai, he was not to the same level as like Super FSK, right? But he was still very good, and that's he wasn't like completely Z tier because his actually using his properly using his blue card, actually I guess kind of requires a bit of skill, because if you're just someone that just sits in the back waiting to use a blue card, that's not the way to use them. You have to I'm not the best Namigoku user. I don't really use him that much, but you have to float in, float back, be always ready for someone going for a tackle, so you have a strike card, go for some mid-range strikes, stuff like that. You gotta do like a bunch of mix-ups to properly utilize his blue card. And you also, even when you don't have a blue card, you still give like the opponents like a bit of fear, because they have to be wary about you activating your blue card, because it's such a stupid blue card to counter, right? So you have to watch out for that. And then his Z ability as well as his Zenkai ability will allow him to be like on the Saiyans team or Super Saiyans or whatever team forever. His Z ability is very good, like 30% to both offenses, or I think 35 at Zenkai 7 or at 14 stars. And then Zenkai ability is Blue Saiyans. Like, that is going to be a staple bench for any blue unit, any Saiyans team, and you can actually bring him into the battle because he's a good unit, right? So he's going to age very, very well. And if one day his damage is lackluster, he's going to remain on the bench forever. So that's why this guy takes, I think, the number 4 spot here. So let's move on to the next one, and we have Sengkai Majinbu. So this guy, I would argue, is probably the best aging unit. But the reason I have the 2 others in front of him is because those units are like still very good, like very, very good to this day. So that's why I have him over there. But MajinBlue obviously is like, his damage is not the best. His tanking is still decent, but with everyone doing so much damage, you can see his tanking slowly deteriorating. But this dude, believe it or not, his Zenkai dropped like the beginning of 2020. So this was like 5 months prior to the 2nd anniversary, and he is still the staple green unit on the Regen team. Like, can you believe that? When he first dropped, he was paired alongside Blue Super Baby 2, and that combo is a very, very fearful combo, and that's why if Super Baby 2 gets a Zenkai, it's going to be disgusting. But yeah, this guy has been the staple green unit on the Regen team, and the Regen team has been a pretty solid team throughout the years, right? Obviously, like I mentioned with DKP, the team has slightly deteriorated, slightly went down in the rankings due to how stupid the teams are right now. But like I said, if they get a strong blue unit, this team will be very, very good, and he's going to continue being the staple green unit because he offers like a very good tanking system, right? Like, first of all, he heals all your allies 25%. That's a very big amount. He has no switching, so any seals their strike card. That's a very nasty combination. But the thing is, like, the big thing is he restores his health every time he takes damage, right? So he restores 30% of damage received up to 30% health. Restores own health by 15% by changing cover. Like, he has so many ways of restoring health, and that's why when you pair them up with Baby, that gives increased health restorations to his allies, he literally heals everything back. So if he's able to somehow survive a Rising Rush, he'll just heal back like 75% of his health, and it's actually just stupid. So that's what made him so good, and that's why he's still to this day a staple green unit on the Regen team. So let's start slowly getting into our top 2. So we have, coming at number 2, we have Zenkai Super Saiyan Bardock. So this unit, like many people have said, probably might be the biggest mistake the game has made, and that's because of his unique ability right here. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with it because you're getting steamrolled in PvP by this guy. Applies effect to Super Saiyans when switched to Saiyan by 20% damage, 30% crit rate, 70% critical damage. So he increases your chance of getting crits. And of course, crits already do a lot of damage if you get them. But in addition to that, he gets 20% damage inflicted. But the biggest thing is he gives 70% to critical damage. This guy will forever be used in PvP as long as they keep printing out Super Saiyan units. And let me tell you right now, we are always going to be getting some form of Super Saiyan units. It is the most iconic transformation in the game. You're going to be seeing Super Saiyan units in this game forever, and that's going to make this unit a staple unit on the Super Saiyans team. I'm surprised they even Zenkai this guy, because even prior to Zenkai, people would still run him even though he wasn't good. Like, they would just run him simply just to get the critical buff. They would sack him off probably for a rush, but they would use him even when he wasn't good, just for the Super Saiyan buffs. And now that he has a Zenkai, he's viable in PvP, and you can run him with some of the strongest units in the game, namely Ultra Gogeta, the top tier best unit in the game, undeniably the best unit in the game. That's not up for debate. And it's Super Vegito, I would argue a top 3 unit in the game, maybe even I would say top 4 unit in the game. So 2 Super Saiyan units, and then this guy. Like, like what the hell are you supposed to do when each of those units do like half your health with a strike card? Like, it makes like absolutely no sense, and that's why I think like this is a unit that I believe probably should just get nerfed straight up, because he's going to be viable forever, and he's gonna make Super Saiyan units just stupid all the time. So they definitely did not expect that this guy was going to be this strong for so long. I mean, if they did, like, damn, they must be pretty evil if they want to cook this guy up like that. But yeah, he's going to remain viable forever, and it's pretty damn crazy. So let's move on to the final unit, and it's going to be LF Future Gohan. So Future Gohan dropped 1 month after Goku Blue. He is basically the 2021 equivalent of Bardock that we just got recently. And upon his release, he was actually pretty much shot down, mainly because of his stats. So back then, like, since LFs were still fairly rare and it was hard to get dupes of units, people always consider him at 3-star. And I feel like a lot of hate he got upon release was kind of probably due to Game Press's tier list, because Game Press's tier list is pretty like well known around the community, and they would rate LF units at 3 stars. And at 3 stars, when you look at his stats, this dude doesn't even break the 200k for strike attack. So his stats were definitely underwhelming, right? But even me, I had him at 2 stars, and I would almost never use him because like 2 stars, he's gonna get melted by everyone, right? So there was really no point. But now, like, as time went on, he became very good, especially in the hybrids meta with Revival Go on FSK. He was like the third best option there. He got his Z tier movement in the tier list. So as time went on, people were able to get more stars, and with the Legends Festival, people with the double Z power, people got him very high stars, myself included. I got him to Red 2, but a lot of people, it's very normal to see this guy at Red 2. 9 stars and above. That's like completely normal. And so at Red Stars, right, he has some decent stats, but his main usage comes from his kit. He has one of the best kits in the game, and that's mainly because of his first of all, he has endurance. That's already a plus in this meta, right? He has a cover change on blast cards. It's a weird cover change because it nullifies the blast cards and destroys 2 enemy cards, which is always damn annoying. But it's a weird kind of cover change because you can kind of go in straight for a striker, and the opponent might not be able to dodge it. The opponent actually, the way to counteract his cover change, you gotta swipe up after the blast card and then try to avoid it. But yeah, it's a kind of a weird a cover change. He has permanent card draw speed, always very good. He nullifies his unfavorable elements for, I think, when his an enemy is defeated. He does it twice, which is always very good. He restores the most health for endurance, 40%, which is why they didn't give him any health restoration in his main ability, because, you know, main abilities nowadays for LFs especially, if you don't regain any health, it's almost like it's pretty much a standard now. So he doesn't gain any health because he gets a whopping 40% on his endurance. And then the best thing about him is he actually, unironically, is probably the best support unit in the game without even being a support unit. So similar to Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, this guy does very good supporting. It's right over here, 25% to damage inflicted for 20 counts after enemy attack is over, and this will continuously stack, right? It doesn't say cannot stack, so any tap attacks, tap blasts, those type of stuff, straight up 25% damage inflicted. You can easily start stacking this damage, and when you're paired up with units like Sword of Hope Trunks, Goku and Vegeta, like they are going to start hitting so hard, and that's what makes this guy so good. 1 year after his release, he was released and he was, I think, tier 1 or maybe S tier. Now he's an easy Z tier unit, top 5, maybe. Okay, no, not top 5. I would say top. Actually, you can argue he's top 5 because my top 5 would be Ultra Gogeta, Goku Vegeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Vegeta, and then probably this guy. So this guy, no, actually, Sword of Hope Trunks, and then this guy. So a top 6 unit 1 year after his release, and since his release, he was only getting more and more value. And I feel like his value is gonna keep increasing if they continue to drop like future units, Sun Family units, any type of like hybrid units. His value is just gonna keep going up from here. So best aging unit for sure. Honestly, you can say it's a tie between these two because Bardock has been in the meta for so long. So, and this guy's probably going to continue to be for quite a bit of time, right? So that's the story with future Gohans, and that is going to be my list of, I guess, top 10 best aging units in the game. Let me know in the comments what you guys would consider the best aging units. I'm interested to see what you guys think. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe because that shit is so important, so don't forget. Have a great day. See ya.